All right, what is happening? Welcome to week 5 of the Other D1 podcast. My name is Jordan Selfo, and joining me is Kyle. I finally got on the win column Fishback. Kyle, what's going on, man? How's the weekend? What takeaways you got? How we doing?
Man, I'm doing great. Great weekend. A lot of football. Feels good to get a stamp pick right. I'll tell you that. Get the demons off the back. We're
Yeah.
in a hot streak here. I mean, there was some good football this weekend. I mean, I got a couple notes here, but I'll let you kick it off. What do you see this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest takeaway was, staying in the FCS, we had Southeast Missouri State upsetting them weak ass Salukis. So
Yeah.
Southern Illinois, but yeah, I mean that was one I was watching pretty closely, and yeah, and then I went to the HCU UTSA game. That was a good time. Unfortunately HCU came up short, but we'll get to all that.
Yeah.
What notes you got?
So sticking with FCS, Monmouth getting the upset over an FBS program, FIU 45-42. Always good to see an FCS team get that upset. In terms of FBS, two things stuck out to me this weekend.
What you got?
First is TCU at SMU. Talk about a barn burner. Fun game to watch, but I've never seen a head coach get ejected. Sonny
I've
Dice gets ejected for TCU.
I've never seen that. He was losing his fucking mind on the sideline, just going ballistic. I think it was a holding penalty on, what was it, like a punt return or something like that?
Yeah, I've never seen a coach get ejected. I kind of halfway think it was intentional on his part to rally the troops because they were down double digits at that point. You could feel the momentum getting away from them. So I almost think he maybe did it to spark the troops.
Yeah.
Ultimately didn't work out.
Right.
And the last one I got here is hell of a game. Baylor at Colorado.
Yeah,
Going to overtime, Colorado pulling it out.
I
To get
know.
to overtime, they had to throw a Hail Mary pass with no time left on the clock. Incredible catch. That was a fun game to watch.
That was a wild one. Well, let's jump right into it. Our week 4 recap. First game we got is Houston Christian playing here in San Antonio at the Alamo Dome against UTSA, the Road Runners. They fall to UTSA 45-7. They missed the over, so I lost one of my stamp picks
Yep.
by 3 freaking points. Yeah, I mean it was a brutal game, man. First half they had that blocked field goal that really killed Houston Christian, but
UTSA is just better team with better talent. It's one of those deals where you watch the film and move on. And if I'm really looking for some silver lining, I mean, really trying to look, it's that they only turned the ball over one time. Again,
yeah, it
digging
was
deep here.
It was a tough one. And then, like, one note I made in the first half, it was 4th and 9 on HCU was driving, and they were on UTSA's 29-yard line, and they're going for it. That just tells you the kicking game in FCS is just not even comparable to FBS. To go for it on the 29-yard line, it's just, I don't know. That was kind of crazy to me. And then Cutter Stewart, he started the game, but he got knocked out early. Eli Brickhandler, he came in and finished the rest of the game. It was just
Not a lot to take away. On our next matchup here, we got Mississippi Valley State at Nicholls State. Thank goodness for this result. I got my first stamp pick win. Nicholls beats the dog crap out of Mississippi Valley 66-0.
dog crap. They beat the dog crap.
I don't know. Nicholls has just got to be happy to get a win after the ringer they've been through the past 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I know Mississippi Valley is not a great team. When you put up 657 yards of total offense compared to 166, you're doing something right.
Pat McQuaid had a decent game. He was 15 of 20 for 184 yards with 2 touchdowns. And then their rushing game, holy shit. McKeel Brock with 132 yards on 8 attempts for 2 touchdowns. And then Corey Warren Jr. with 124 yards on 12 attempts for 2 touchdowns. They were running the ball down their throat. It was good to see, them get, like you said, going through a ringer, and then they come out with massive victory.
I mean, 6 turnovers by Mississippi Valley State makes your job easier on the offensive side, but
didn't they had like 4 picks in the first half, didn't they?
yeah, it was 45-0 at half. I mean, this could have been a lot worse than it was.
Well, they come away with the win. They cover for Kyle Stamp pick, so that was his only win. Number 1, South Dakota State coming down to Hammond, America, and they pull off the win with 41-0. This was This was brutal.
Not a great day to be a Lions fan.
They could not get anything going on offense, man. It's the same story. They just couldn't get a rhythm, couldn't get going. But the defense did a good job. I mean, my dad, he had a press conference before this game where he was talking about how they need to handle Gronowski for South Dakota State. They need to be able to contain him because he can really tear you apart with his arm and his legs. They only held him to 65 passing yards, and he had a pick. And I mean, the story here is Kirby Voorhees. He had 179 yards on 5 attempts, and he had 3 touchdowns. That was a killer for the Southeastern Lions there.
Yeah, they may have held them to 76 yards of passing, but they obviously didn't need the passing game to get the win. So,
Southeastern had those 2 picks in the first half. And then Damon Stewart, he was the one who got the nod to start on Saturday. And I think wanted to make a coaching change and sit Eli Sawyer. We just haven't seen any sort of spark on the offensive side. See what he can do, but he wasn't very productive. I mean, he was 9 for 20. Yeah, it was a tough game to watch.
South Dakota State just keeps proving why they're number 1 in the country.
Yeah.
I keep going back and forth in my head, like how much of this is South Dakota just being that much better of a program versus Southeastern just not being in rhythm right now. Yeah, I guess you gotta watch the film, take away what you can. But South Dakota State was also missing some key guys.
They were missing a lot of key guys.
You would have hoped it would have been at least a little bit more competitive. 2 missed field goals. I mean, Southeastern's had a couple of those this year, right?
Yeah. I hate kickers. Sorry, Pat McAfee. I hate kickers. It was tough.
At what point do you have an open tryout on campus?
Yeah. Just go recruiting on the soccer team. Hey, let's go.
You gotta
kick it over the crossbar, not under.
Got Northern Arizona at UIW, Galen Tomlinson Stadium in San Antonio. Final there, 38-14. UIW gets a win. Thought it was a good showing. What do you think?
Yeah. Takeaway I have on this is Calzada's boom or bust.
Yep.
He makes some really damn good plays, or he does something really stupid where he's throwing into coverage and you're like, what the hell are we doing here? He did have that nice scramble for a touchdown where he threw to Roy Alexander. He just threw it up on that play, and it was like triple coverage, and Roy was like 1 yard into the end zone. I mean, NAU's not a great program. UIW's defense is definitely keeping them in the games. Calzada just got to get the consistency down.
That's one of my notes here is even with the win, there's always going to be things you can clean up. One of those being third down efficiency. 1 for 9 on third downs. We're getting ourselves back in the holes, not calling great plays to execute on third down. Is that offensive coordinator, or is that because Calzada's running around there trying to make something happen?
Right.
Probably a little both. Cardinals fan being a little bit overcritical. Good to see them get the win. 2 tough games in a row.
Yeah, DeCalon Taylor. I mean, this dude is a freaking stud. He had 190 yards rushing with 2 touchdowns. Just keep pounding the rock. Don't have to get too crazy with passing game. Keep running behind them big boys up front. They did a damn good job there rushing the ball.
I don't know if you saw the 97-yarder he had. There was 2 DBs that had the angle on him, and he outran him. He's on the track team there at UIW. He might be one of the fastest guys in the conference. I mean, it was pretty impressive seeing that 97-yarder.
And that 97-yarder broke a UIW school record for longest rushing touchdown. So Texas Southern playing at Lamar. Lamar comes away with a win, 20-17. This was awesome game.
Lamar was lucky to escape with a win.
No kidding.
That's pretty much the gist of it. Didn't have their starter, Robert Coleman. Had to start Jacoby Longino, but he did enough to get the job done at the end of the day.
I mean, he was only 9 for 16 with 63 yards and a touchdown.
Some crucial hard counts is really what his...
The story here is Kalen Griffin. I mean, 124 yards on 22 attempts. I mean, they were relying on him a lot in this game. He had 2 touchdowns, and then he had that score with a minute left to go up 20-17. Texas Southern, they scored with 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter to go up 17-13, and then Kalen Griffin, they rely on him to drive him down the field and get that last-second touchdown. But this was a wild game, and then Ken Savannah, he had 11 total tackles with 2 sacks. Great to see defensively. They're stepping up. They got some different guys, leading the way. Yeah, this was a wild game.
A little bit of it was Lamar coming off a big win last week. You maybe overlooked Texas Southern a tad, so you start out slow. First half was ugly.
Right.
And that was my first. Let's clean that up. Second was penalties continue to be an issue for Lamar. I can't imagine Coach Rossomando is going to let that stand much longer. You got to get that cleaned up once you go into conference. Either way, they got the win.
Yeah, just clean some stuff up. I mean, shit, keep relying on Kalen Griffin. I mean,
No, I agree. Got Sacramento State at Texas A&M Commerce. Final there was 34-0 Sacramento State. Unfortunately, the over did not hit. So I went 1 for 1 this week.
Hey, you got the one. You got
I
the
got the
one.
one. That's all that matters. That's 1 foot in front of the other.
Yeah, that's
That's
it.
where we're going with. Sacramento State's a good team. I mean, they're number 11 for a reason. They dominated this game start to finish. It was hard to find some highlights. A&M
It,
Commerce to talk about.
they did not have a good offensive production. You had Eric Rodriguez. He started the game. He was 8 for 16 with 87 yards and 2 picks. And then Ron Peace comes in. And then you had Will Madonna. You know, obviously at that point, the score is getting out of hand. Let's just get this guy some reps. This was a tough one. I mean, defensively, you had Max Epps leading the way with 12 total tackles, one of them being a TFL, and B-Tuck getting 10 total tackles as well. And you hold a high-powered offense to 34 points, I guess. Kind of the takeaway here. Offensively, you just got to get the ball moving. Got to get the ball moving and eliminate those turnovers.
Turnovers, they're drive killers, or I mean, game killers.
Yeah.
This would have been a 13-0 ball game at half if it wasn't for Ron Peace's pick six. Your point about the defense, I think that is the headline. I mean, 13-0 at half, you can live with that. But 20-0, we got an uphill battle second half.
You know, let's clean it up, and we'll see how we do next week. But we got Weber State playing at Northwestern State. They're staying in the Southland Conference. They come away with the win with 39-0.
I really was hoping for a more competitive game here. I did not think Northwestern State was going to get shut out. I mean, Weber State just took control of this game and never gave it back. I have here that Northwestern State's longest drive in terms of plays and time of possession was a 7-play, 21-yard drive that lasted 3 minutes and 46 seconds. In the fourth quarter. So the game was obviously already out of hand. When that's your longest drive of the game, you're not doing your defense any favors. You're not going to be able to win ball games like that. They're in a rebuilding phase right now at Northwestern. So keep doing the little things right, and it'll eventually all come together.
Not a huge offensive production. Defensively, though, Blake Gotcher, he led the way again this week with 11 total tackles, 3 of those being TFLs, 2 sacks. You know, you got some kind of highlight there, right? Yeah, offensively, we got to get going in the right direction.
Secondary just gave up way too many chunk plays, and they got out of hand early. We have Alcorn State Braves at McNeese in Lake Charles. Final there was 42-14. We've been harping on it all season long. When are they going to show up in the first half?
Just about to say that.
First play of the first possession.
I know.
50-yard touchdown.
Yep. Yeah. Finally, they woke up. They must have been listening. They finally woke up. Yeah. Clifton McDowell, he had a great game. He was 15 of 21 for 229, 2 touchdowns. I mean, he did have the pick, but he was one of the leading rushers with 76 yards and a touchdown. And then I don't know if you saw that no-look pass he had. Freaking Pat Mahomes out here.
I mean, he continues to impress. I mean, with his arm, especially this game to me, was day and night compared to some previous games. I mean, he looked incredible in the passing game. Obviously, we know what he can do on the ground. Yeah, if he stays healthy, man, they can upset some people.
Special teams showing up. They had that block punt for a touchdown. That was a wild play. On the defensive side, you know, we still got Micah Davey out. He's been their leading tackler, you know, in the first couple games, and he was out last week and then out again this week. We're gonna stay close on that to see what's going on there, and then Bugsy Silvera with another pick.
Yeah,
love it. I love it.
2 on the season. Let's keep them coming.
Yeah, great game by McNeese, and Coach Goff was obviously happy about this one. So we have Northern Colorado playing at SFA. SFA just dog stomps them 48-7.
I've got Sam Vidlock as a potential Walter Payton frontrunner.
Hey, I'm sticking with Kalen Griffin, but yeah, we can throw Sam in there.
You talk about efficiency. His deep balls were on point. He was fitting into tight windows. He couldn't miss yesterday.
Yeah, he had some good throws.
Their offense in general. You got Quaylon Jones that's just gashing the defense. I mean, they're running plays every 15, 20 seconds. So that whole running back room, I mean, Jalen Jenkins, Gerald Wembley, I mean, just everybody getting involved, and they couldn't do anything wrong. It's hard to find something to be critical about on FSA's tape here.
They had a complete game. Next year, I don't think Northern Colorado wants to come down to the Southland are getting dick stomped. Yeah, Sam Vidlock had a great game. He was 16 to 26 with 219 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then, yeah, like you said, Quaylen Jones and Jalen Jenkins, both about 80 yards. It was a dominant gameplay against Northern Colorado. And then Jalen Jenkins, I don't know if you saw this play. It was in the third quarter, and he stiff-armed the shit out of some poor boy.
Yeah.
And scored a touchdown.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was like, get off of me, little boy, like Marshawn Lynch against the Saints,
right.
RIP. But yeah.
So. Yeah, if this SFA team is
East
the one
Texas
we see,
tough.
If they're the one we see in conference play, yeah. I think we're talking top 3 finish.
Yeah, they can definitely surprise some people. Well, that's all we got for the recap of week 4. We're going to kick it to our interview with Coach Pete Rossomando of Lamar. Great conversation with him. Good old Paisan. It was awesome. We'll kick it to that, and we'll see you on the other side. All right, we'd like to welcome our next guest. We have Coach Pete Rossomando from Lamar University, coaching the Cardinals. He's in the middle of his second season right now. Coach, how we doing, man?
Oh, good. Doing good. Thursday practice was over and just got through the film, and now we're on to like recruiting meetings, academic meetings, and all that stuff. So we're getting ready.
The good stuff, yeah.
The good stuff, yeah. So that's right. And tomorrow, our guys don't come in till like 2:30 on Friday, so we got
Gotcha.
Extended period of time to get a lot of stuff done.
Okay. Well, let's start here. I mean, you're a Staten Island kid, obviously played football at BU, coached in the Northeast for most of your career. I mean, how happy are you to be in God's country in the South?
I love it. Love it. I got to Nashville in 19, and man, I just fell in love with being, the weather, number one. It's even better down here. It's hotter, which I like hot. The people are great. I always thought I would struggle with the food because New York and up there is supposed to be the food capital of the world, but I haven't seen that at all. It's been awesome.
Coach, we just wanted to go back through your career here. As Jordan mentioned, played college ball at Boston University, 3 years as a defensive lineman before switching to offensive lineman in your senior year. How was that experience?
It was great. The middle years were tough. My freshman year, I played. I started some games. So it was like, you're right in college football. You're like, man, this stuff's easy. Like, I'm out there playing. And then I got injured in the spring of my freshman year and never really recovered until like the middle of my sophomore year. And, I didn't play that much. We had a couple guys ahead of me, and I just was playing scout team and just trying to get through the year. And wound up playing a little bit at the end of the year. I always tell the guys, like, you got to be ready because you never know when it's your opportunity to play. And because I've experienced it, I've been a third, and all of a sudden a week later I'm starting. And, those things happen in college football. And the good thing is I like playing the game, so it didn't matter whether it was practice or games. I just like being out there, and I was ready to go. And then my junior year, I played pretty good on the D line, and was going into my senior year and spring of my junior year, man. And I was fired up. I was 245 pounds, and I was playing 3 technique, and I was, we just moved to a 4-down defense, and 2 guys left and on offensive line because they didn't get into grad school, so they didn't come back, and we were down to like 6 O-line in spring. So head coach was like, hey, anyone willing to come over and play offense? And I was just like, oh man. Coach, he was an amazing guy. And I went into his office, and he's like, you can really help us. And I said, Coach, the only thing I'd ask is, can I have a chance to start? I'm not asking to be a starter, but do I have a chance to start? Because right now I'm a starter. And he said, yeah, absolutely. So I went over and I played O-line for the rest of spring. I learned the playbook in like 24 hours. So my coach, his name was Dave DeGuglielmo. He coached in the NFL.
What a name.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Everybody calls him Coach Gooch. He was with Birmingham Stallions the last year, and he's been in the NFL for a bunch of years. And he taught me the playbook in one day, really 24 hours. And I was ready to play the next day and at least get out there and run the base plays. So then when I finished, Tony Sperano was the offensive coordinator, and he had gotten a Division II head job. And they asked me what I was going to do. And I just said, I don't know. I'm probably going to physical therapy school or something. I don't really know. And they said, well, what, Coach Sperano's got an offensive line job over at the University of New Haven. And I was like, I don't know if I want to coach. Like, I don't know if I'd be good at it. And they were like, and my O-line coach, he's like, you need to go see Tony. You'd be great at it. So I went over and talked to him. He offered me the O-line job, and that was it. I I've been
I
coaching.
haven't looked back. Yeah.
Never. I can't imagine doing anything else, to be honest with you.
That's awesome. So Tony, he was the guy who propelled you to get into the coaching career.
Yeah, and Tony was an old line coach too, and he was coaching quarterbacks at that time. But and he called the plays as a head coach. But I always thought, hey man, this guy's going to help me. He's an old line guy. It's my first year, and he'll be in my meetings. I'm sure he'll help me. He never said a word. He just like, here you go. Here's your, you know how to do it. Go coach him. And we would go through film, and he would give me some pointers and corrections and stuff. And if I said to him, hey, I'm getting stuck on this, I can't figure out how to get this guy, he'd say, hey, use these drills. But man, he never micromanaged, never did anything. And that's kind of how I learned to run my staff is, hire people that you trust and let them go out there and do their job. And that's really where I learned it all from. And he's, obviously he's passed away, but he's still such an influential part of my coaching career.
Speaking of new staffs, or hiring people of that caliber and letting them do their thing, New Haven, you started out there and then went to a few other schools. New Haven actually discontinued their program in 2003 before reviving it in 2007 when they tapped you to be the head coach. I mean, can you talk about that experience? You're essentially building a program from the ground up.
Yeah, it was, the one thing that New Haven did have, though, was tradition and recent tradition. In 97, when I was there as an assistant, we went to a national championship and we were in the playoffs another couple of years before that. So, I mean, we had a lot of success. So I think they had an idea on how to do it. So that kind of helped. But it was interesting. There wasn't a pair of shoulder pads, a helmet. There wasn't a blocking. So there was nothing left, from the carnage when they dropped football. So it was really just starting from scratch. And we had a full year to get a squad recruited and practice. And then so we went out and recruited 65 freshmen. We recruited about 15 transfers. And we said we were going to play a junior varsity schedule. So we weren't going to be an NCAA team. So we did that. By the time that season ended, we were at about 40 total. And we knew we needed what spot we needed to fill in and how to do it. And we went out and recruited, but really it was just I hired a defensive coordinator first because I was an offensive guy and I was going to call the plays. And I knew I could work with the O-line if need be. I coached every position pretty much on offense, with the exception of quarterbacks. I never really coached quarterbacks before, but coached tight ends. I've coached running backs, coached wideout. So I knew I could handle the offense. I needed somebody strong on defense. So I hired a guy I knew for a long time. He was a GA with me at Albany. And I brought him in and he did a great job with the defense. And I was able to at least keep that side of the ball, where I didn't have to worry too much about it. I still knew what they were doing, but I didn't have to call defense or do anything along those lines. And I hired another guy who's actually with me here. His name was Daryl Deline, and hired him to be the D-line coach and the special teams coordinator. So I knew I had that piece covered. And I was heavily involved in special teams. I always wanted to know what was going on. I didn't call it on game day, but I always knew what was going on. And so those guys, it was only us three as full-time coaches.
Oh, wow.
Everybody else was GAs and part-time. So
oh, my God.
we were just piecing it together. I hired some guys that had played for me to be GAs, and those guys came in, were great. They were grunts, and we had some part-time guys that taught school and come in the afternoon. And it was just it was a crazy atmosphere, but it was fun. And, you were replacing a lot of coaches, but, because I was there and we had a full-time guy on defense, those really didn't change all that much.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I mean, obviously.
What makes great coaches, guys, right? Great players.
Great players.
Yeah. And on the 2012 team that I had at New Haven, we had 7 guys that were on NFL roster from a D2 school. So,
oh wow,
shit.
Just tells you the type of talent that we were able to attract up there.
Damn, that's awesome. Well, I mean, obviously, we're talking about D2 at New Haven, then you went up to Rutgers and was at Vanderbilt. Yeah. But so you've been D2, FCS, FBS, besides talent, obviously, which I guess you just debunked that. But what's been the biggest difference across all 3 levels that you've seen?
Resources. At Rutgers, we wasted more money than we had at Central Connecticut and New Haven. We really didn't have budgets at all. And, we just, at Rutgers, we spent like $1.4 million feeding the players, it was incredible the amount of money they spent. And, we traveled to the airport, we traveled on 6 buses and, we took charters everywhere. I mean, obviously Big Ten, you have to, but it was a different experience. Vandy wasn't quite like that. Vandy was a little bit more reserved as far as how they spent, and that's probably why they weren't very successful. Is they didn't spend like that. But yeah, it was just interesting to see the difference in resources. And then I went to Charlotte, who was a Group of 5 school,
Right.
And it was even a bigger difference there, and as far as the resources go, and how much they could pay the coaches, and the way they fed the players, which was a little bit different and strange, but we got the job done. And it's always been good to learn all those different types of places. And now I'm here at an FCS school, and quite honestly, this is like night and day compared to Central Connecticut, where I was. It's like Central, we had 6 full-time coaches. Here we have 11. We have a full-time operations guy here. We got full-time equipment, full-time video. So we got this is way different than any FCS program I've been a part of.
I mean, speaking of going to Lamar, they were struggling bad before you showed up. Kind of made your mark as turnaround specialist, you could say. How are you feeling about where y'all are at right now? I mean, the quick success y'all have had in just a short 2 years, and then what are your expectations going forward?
Hey, Coach, y'all are my dark horse this season. I'm just telling you.
He called it week 1.
I would say this. I would say it didn't start with me. It started with our president. He's a guy that is amazing and not afraid to invest in things he thinks are important, even if the academic side don't think it's the most important. So he's invested in athletics and really has done a great job of really putting his money where his mouth is. A lot of presidents talk about it, but he actually does it. And then our AD, who came from Marshall, he's an amazing leader, because as Jordan, because your dad's done it so long, is if you have an AD that just lives and dies with every win and loss, it's just a horrible feeling. And our AD does not do that. Like, he understands the process. He knows where we are. He knows how we're getting it done. And, I think those things are really critical to success. And, the one thing I would say is we probably were way far ahead of the curve last year. I think, people have to still be patient, because I don't think that, even though I think we're a way better football team right now, I don't know that it's going to show up the same way it showed up last year, because we got a hard schedule and we're not sneaking up on anybody. And I know we weren't sneaking up on coaches, but we know how players are and we know how they think. And, hey, that's Lamar. We kick their butts every year. And, you come into the game a little sleepy, and all of a sudden, we're a little bit better than you thought we were. But, I just think we're way better, but I don't know that will show up in our record. I hope it does.
It will.
I know that our guys are, it's funny, because if we talked, my strength and conditioning guy, who's been with me since I got here, he said, we're so much different, just in the way we prepare and practice. And I was like, man, I don't feel that at all. Like, I feel like we're not where we need to be. And he's like, yeah, we're not where we need to be, but you should think back to where we were last year at this time. When we couldn't string 2 practices together in preseason camp that were any good. And, I said, yeah, probably. And, coaches just don't think that way. We're always trying to look to get better and improve and try to perfect the craft of the process, and, I wasn't a great process guy when I played. I loved the game, but I wasn't a process guy. And, I learned that through coaching and, teaching our guys that. And I know we're better at it, and our leadership is way better. I mean, last year we could barely find 2 captains, and this year we got 6 of them, and I think all of them deserve.
Obviously, you mentioned the guys at New Haven that went on to be on NFL rosters, but I like asking coaches this. Who's the best athlete that either you played with or you coached throughout your time?
Athlete. I coached a guy at New Haven when I was the special teams coordinator's guy. His name was Mike Summers, and he was like 5'11", 190 pound, strong safety essentially. But he was a starting point guard on the basketball team. He started every game since he was a freshman in football. He led the team in kickoff returns, and he ran down on punts as a gunner and made every tackle. He was the best athlete I'd have ever coached, and smart. Loved to play sports. He's just one of them guys that was. I mean, who plays college football and college basketball in the same year? Right? I mean, nobody does. And he was like tournament MVP, and he was 5'11", played above the rim. I mean, just one of the most amazing athletes that I've ever coached. And then probably the best football player was a guy named Raheem Stanley, who was like 6'1", 320 D lineman at New Haven. And he went to the Baltimore Ravens when like Ray Lewis was there and all those guys. And they loved him, man. They fell in love with this guy. He like wore glasses. He would like, push him up with and wore rec specs when he played. But man, you couldn't block this guy. I mean, he was a ferocious football player and great athlete for a 300-pound guy.
Coach, I always love getting takes on how coaches feel about the NIL and transfer portal in this new college landscape. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings?
I think what it is a really good thing. I think what it has become is as we probably all knew, it's out of control right now. Yeah.
Yep.
I think that and I look at it always as a dad, and my son was recruited last year, and when he was looking at places, I always wanted him to have the opportunity if staff changed or he wasn't being treated right, or maybe even he just couldn't play at that place, to have the ability to transfer and not have to sit out a year. I thought that was something that should have been done a long time ago. The one-time transfer would have been fine. And I think you wouldn't have had the issues you had with people suing the NCAA over it, because at least they had the opportunity to transfer one time. But, coaches get possessive, and all of a sudden, Nick Saban's not letting the kid transfer because he doesn't want to play against the kid. And, that becomes national news. That guy sues the NCAA for missed opportunities. And now we're in this mess where a guy can transfer. Yeah, I mean, we have guys that are calling us. They've transferred 4 times already and have 2 more years of eligibility left. And it's sad for the kids, because
it's ridiculous.
As you know, like, you guys are probably young enough to remember being a kid, and like you shouldn't always get what you want, right? Yeah. You get what you need, and yeah. As the NCAA gave the kids what they want, and that's not always good. And I think we're all seeing that now. Kids aren't graduating. They're not graduating. They're not really going to be productive. It's hard, as you know, like for me, it was like 2 years before I even knew really every nuance of the defense that I played in when I was in college. So I don't know that guys are ever reaching their full potential, especially at this level. Like,
right.
If you're at a Power 5 level, maybe that's a little different. But man, at this level, you need to get developed in order to reach your potential and maybe have a chance to play at the next level. The NIL, I always thought it was so stupid that they wouldn't let kids work. They wouldn't let kids, sign on with a car dealership. They wouldn't let kids, whatever, model or, sell their own jerseys and stuff like that, because like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, why would you do that? Like, and now look where we are. Like, you had to know like that this was going to happen if you opened up Pandora's box where, hey, NIL, like, and you give the universities an opportunity to form a collective where they can actually pay players directly. And I know coaches are not supposed to have a say in it. We know that's not true.
Right.
Know that there's not supposed to be tampering. I know 100% that's not true, because we've had kids recruited right off our roster, and so is your dad.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, those things are they're disheartening. It's and I told our team, I tell them all, right, you want to go. I have no problem with it. I'll help you. This is not going to become a transactional relationship. Like, I'm not into that. So if you want it to be transactional, go somewhere else. Go figure out a place you can go, get paid to play, and maybe that works out for you. I'm pretty sure at this level it's not going to. So, we had a kid leave here who couldn't play here. He was like a 3rd string guy at Lamar. He's telling the guys on our team, "Oh, I got NIL money and this and that." And I was like, I would not believe that unless he shows you the canceled check or the deposits into his account. I said people can say whatever they want. So it's kind of opened up it's opened up Pandora's box a little bit. But I think it was good for the players. I think the players should have had the opportunity to use their name, image, and likeness to make some money. I do believe that they're, like, who believed that when EA Sports put out a video game with people's names on it, that they weren't going to get sued for making all this money on a video game with people's names on it?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's so that just screams of arrogance.
Yeah.
And eventually, those people are going to get taken down, and they did, and unfortunately, we're all paying the price for it.
Yeah, I mean,
I agree completely. Yeah, I was just saying. I mean, you hit the nail right on the head. We went from one end of the spectrum to the complete opposite, just a short amount of time, and we're all paying the price now for it. And eventually they're going to get some guardrails on this thing. But I do think there needs to be a limit on number of transfers and then some sort of level playing field with the NIL stuff, because it's just, I mean, it's ridiculous.
It's never gonna. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. It's never gonna happen. I just don't believe it. I don't think you can backpedal on it. I think they rolled it out the wrong way, and it was all because because of arrogance. Quite honestly, they thought they were going to be able to keep all their dollars and cents and never give it to the athletes and never allow the athletes to benefit from their university selling their jerseys and video game companies using their names and pictures. I mean, come on. I remember playing the NCAA and there were names on there.
Yeah, I know.
And I couldn't even believe, and I can't believe that.
Yeah, I mean, when Colin and I played, I could have made tens of dollars, from Pedro's auto body shop on the south side of San Antonio, but
they wouldn't let you.
Yeah, they wouldn't let me. I don't know why. But yeah, I mean, so we just wanted to finish up on a couple of lighter questions. So, obviously, my dad, my last name's Selfo. We're fellow Paisans, right? Yeah. So I want to hit you with a couple quick Italian questions. Yeah. We're just going to go rapid fire, okay? So favorite Italian dish?
Chicken parm.
Favorite Sopranos scene or episode?
Not really that big a Sopranos guy.
Oh, my God. Come on, Coach.
That hurts.
I mean, I like the scene on the boat. That's probably the scene that I would.
Where they kill off Pussy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's probably my favorite scene. But
all right, that's a good one. All right, and then last one, favorite mob movie?
Goodfellas.
Right answer.
I love it.
Not even
close.
I
love it. All right, well, Coach, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it, and good luck this weekend, and good luck the rest of the season.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
Right,
take care.
See you, man.
I thought it was good, man. I really liked the rapid fire with the Italian questions at the end. That was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
So.
And then we were crushing him about him not being a huge Sopranos fan. So that was funny.
How do you not like the Sopranos?
I mean, come on, as a Paisan, come on, man. Yeah, it was. I hope you all enjoyed that interview, and we really appreciate everybody watching and listening. And we'll see everybody on Friday for our Week 5 preview. We'll see everybody then. Everybody have a great week. Peace.
Cheers.